Every Halloween, something crosses over. Some say it's just stories. Others know better. Tonight, you'll hear 3 true tales of fear, whispers, and the things that walk after dark. These are Halloween horror stories.
Story 1. The Candy Bowl. It was Halloween 2019, and I had agreed to watch my sister's house while she cooked her kids trick-or-treating in the next town over. I didn't feel like partying or dressing up, so I stayed behind to hand out candy. She lived on a quiet cul-de-sac with only a few families, so I didn't expect many visitors. I placed a plastic pumpkin bowl of mini chocolates by the door, flipped on a horror movie, and waited for the doorbell. For the first hour, nothing. Around 8:30 p.m., I heard the first knock. Not a doorbell, a knock, sharp and deliberate. I opened the door and found no one, just the candy bowl, empty. I figured a kid had grabbed the whole thing and bolted. Annoying, but not unheard of. I brought the bowl inside and locked the door. At 9:15 p.m., the knock came again. 3 slow raps. I opened the door a little faster this time, but again, no one. Except now, the candy bowl had been placed back on the front step, and inside it, just one thing. A single, unwrapped, homemade caramel with a torn slip of paper underneath. It read, "You took too much." That's when I noticed something across the street. A figure, short, maybe a child, standing under a flickering street lamp, wearing what looked like a paper mask and an old-fashioned black cloak, just staring at the house. I watched for a full minute. They never moved. No trick-or-treat bag, no other kids. Eventually, they just walked back down the street and vanished behind some hedges. I took the caramel inside and threw it straight into the trash. I texted my sister to ask if she told any neighbors I was house sitting. She replied, "No one comes by after 8. Everyone's at the party. Cul-de-sac goes dark by 9. I looked outside again. Every house was dark. No porch lights, no decorations. Just the quiet hum of streetlights and me. At 10:20 p.m., I heard the knock again. Not from the door this time, from the back window. I froze. That side of the house looked out into a small fenced yard, overgrown and dark. The curtain was half open. I crept over and peeked out. Nothing. But when I turned back toward the living room, I heard it. "You're still taking," whispered right behind me. I spun around, empty. Then I heard footsteps upstairs. Heavy, slow, deliberate. I wasn't about to investigate, so I did what anyone sane would do. I ran out the front door and stood on the porch with my phone, ready to call the police. And across the street, the masked figure was back. This time, they were closer, at the edge of the driveway. Still, silent. I waited until they disappeared again. I didn't go back inside until I heard my sister pull into the driveway a little after 11. I never told her what happened. She said the upstairs lights were all off when she left, but when she walked in that night, the light in the guest bedroom was on. The one I hadn't touched. 3 days later, back in my apartment, I opened my backpack to find something I hadn't put there. That same unwrapped caramel from Halloween night. And underneath it, a new note in the same torn handwriting. Greedy.
Story 2.
the mask in the window. On Halloween night in 2016, I was working as a part-time security guard for a small strip mall just outside Columbus, Ohio. My shift started at 8 p.m. and ran until 4 a.m. Long, boring hours watching mostly empty parking lots. The shops closed by 10, except for a liquor store on the far end. Most of the time, I just sat in my car and checked security cameras on a small tablet. Nothing ever happened. Until that night. Around 11:30 p.m., I glanced up from my tablet and saw a face in the second-floor window of the old party supply store. The shop had been closed for months. Windows were dusty and half covered in old Halloween decals. But this face stood out, pale, wide-eyed, and wearing a cracked porcelain mask. It stared right at me. I blinked, looked again, and it was gone. I got out of the car and walked over. The front doors were chained shut like always. I shined my flashlight around, nothing out of place. No broken locks, no movement. I convinced myself it was probably a reflection from my tablet or a leftover decoration. Still, I made a note of it in the logbook. Just past midnight, as I sat in the car watching a horror movie on my phone, the security lights around the party store flickered, then shut off completely for a few seconds. When they flicked back on, the porcelain masked face was in the window again, this time pressed against the glass. I didn't even blink. I ran to the door. Still locked, but I swear I heard laughing from inside. The next day, I asked one of the older shopkeepers about that building. He said the place used to hold year-round Halloween inventory, run by a reclusive couple. The wife died in the upstairs storage room in the 90s, carbon monoxide leak. He said the husband shut the place down, then disappeared. No one had rented it since, and no one ever went upstairs. The following Halloween, October 31st, 2017, I had the same shift. I joked with coworkers that I was ghost hunting at the party store. But around 2 a.m., as I did my rounds, I noticed something new. The front doors were wide open. I know they'd been chained when I started my shift. I stepped inside slowly, flashlight in hand. The dust was thick. Shelves still held faded pumpkin buckets, tangled plastic skeletons, and a few unopened mask packages. But upstairs, it was freezing cold. I climbed the narrow stairs, heart pounding. At the top was a room with old shelves, a broken cash register, and cardboard boxes. One chair faced the window. On the floor, a cracked porcelain mask, the exact same face I had seen in the window a year before. I picked it up. The second I touched it, the door slammed shut behind me. And from the dark corner of the room, a voice whispered, "You're late." I turned slowly. A figure sat in the chair, gaunt, pale, its face identical to the mask in my hand. It didn't move, didn't speak, just watched me. I backed away, reaching for the door. It creaked open on its own. I didn't stop running until I was back in the car, shaking. I transferred jobs a month later. Every Halloween since, I still get a letter in the mail, no return address. Inside each envelope is a photo. Always the same thing, a picture taken from inside the second-story window of the party store showing me on the sidewalk below. There's no one left in that building, no working cameras, no power. But someone's still watching. Every year.
Story 3, Pumpkin Hollow. In 2018, my college roommate Kyle invited me to his hometown in Vermont for Halloween weekend. He kept talking about this local tradition, a midnight pumpkin walk through the woods near a place called Pumpkin Hollow. It sounded dumb, but I agreed. I thought it'd be a bunch of teenagers drinking in the woods, maybe a scare or two, nothing serious. I didn't realize the town actually believed in what they were doing. On Halloween night, just before midnight, about 25 of us gathered near the edge of the woods. Everyone brought their own carved pumpkin and a candle. They lined the trail with them, one every few steps, stretching into the dark trees like glowing sentinels. Kyle whispered, "Whatever you do, don't look back once we start walking, even if you hear something." He wasn't joking. I laughed, but no one else did. As we started walking, I noticed how unnaturally quiet the forest was. No wind, no leaves rustling, not even crickets. Just the sound of feet crunching leaves and the flickering light of dozens of jack-o'-lanterns. After maybe 10 minutes, I heard something behind us. Footsteps, not matching ours. They were slower, heavier. I turned to Kyle. His eyes were forward, face pale. I whispered, "Did you hear that?" He nodded. A few more minutes passed. Then we all heard it, a soft voice from the darkness behind us. A woman's voice, gentle and crooning. "Little light, keep me warm." Everyone stopped. No one turned around. One girl whispered, "It's following again." Someone else muttered, "Don't speak to it." Then, as if on cue, all the jack-o'-lanterns along the trail flickered at once. The trail ended in a small clearing they called Pumpkin Hollow. Just a circle of rocks and trees. Everyone placed their jack-o'-lanterns in the center, forming a glowing ring, and stood around it silently. The air grew freezing cold. Our breath misted. The candles shook in the wind, though there was none. Then we heard it again, the voice, right at the edge of the clearing. "Don't leave me alone." Kyle whispered, "Don't move until she passes." A girl near the edge panicked. She turned around and ran back into the woods. We never saw her again. They searched the next day. No tracks, no phone signal, no clothes, no sign of struggle. She just vanished between one jack-o'-lantern and the next. They said it had happened before and would again. We waited for what felt like 10 minutes. Then just like that, the air warmed. The candles stopped flickering. Everyone silently picked up their pumpkins and walked back the way we came, still not looking behind us. I didn't hear footsteps this time, but I felt watched, like someone was walking just inches behind me, breathing on my neck. Back at Kyle's house, I finally turned my phone on. No signal all night, but one new photo sat in my camera roll. I hadn't taken it. It showed me standing in the clearing, looking straight ahead, and behind me, visible over my shoulder, was a face. Pale, hollow-eyed, lips almost smiling. A woman in the trees. I asked Kyle if this was all some ritual. He said no one really knows what she is. Some say a spirit of a settler who froze in the woods centuries ago. Others think she's tied to the land itself. But every Halloween, they bring her the pumpkins to light her way and walk with her. "It's not about scaring people," he said. "It's about surviving."